Spreaker commercials I could do. So he'd send me out on these auditions, and these casting directors would freak out. You know, we'd walk into the room, oh, wow, man, wow, cool, that's great. Could you give me an autograph, you know, blah, blah, blah. Okay, need to see your profile, and turn around, please, and slate your name. I'm like, oh, crap. This is harsh. Yeah, so that was, there was definitely a middle period where we all, at least we had the five of us. We'd all get together quite often in L.A. and grumble about the biz. We felt like we were the only five people that had gone on this Poseidon adventure, you know, and went through the war together, and we're the only five that could really understand it. And,
so are you pursuing acting still, Mark, from time to time?
You know, I'll tell you, I moved away from L.A. a decade or so ago down to my hometown of Birmingham for a while, and it started the film company with my brother, kind of built an empire down there. I had a great sort of new phase in my life, which a lot of people in my business get to, where you want control. You know, I started a production company. We did commercials. We've done 6 or 7 independent documentary and narrative films. We won an Academy Award nomination like in the mid-2000s to start off our company. And I built a music hall called Workplay that's got a great reputation nationally nowadays. And I got involved civically and socially, which I never would have done in L.A. I just sat on my ass, wait on my agent's call, thinking about my own life and not helping anybody else out. Yeah. So I've been through a phase of real creativity. I did a lot of directing, community theater and being in it. So in the non-pressurized world away from the Hollywood bubble, you know, it was just, I did things for fun, let me put it that way. And now I'm up in Chicago, you know, about ready to jump into the heat again. And I do want to re-engage with my acting roots. And in a very low-key way, I'm going to go to I've got a reading coming up here, a workshop reading, and a local theater that's a good company. So, I'd like to restart that. It'd be a little hobbyish for a while.
Yeah.
I think developing the TV idea for the book is what we are in the middle of right now. We've got a great agent out west talking to some producers. And I've got 2 reality shows that are kind of throwbacks to my production days with my brother down south that we're working on selling. So I do serious satellite by day, and the other part of the day I'm working on developing some projects.
You're a busy man, Alan Hunter. You are a busy man. You sound like you're at peace.
You know, it's like internet people. You never know whether it's like a guy with no arms and legs just sits in a chair all day long typing on the computer. Makes like he's got a big life. Me, I don't know. You guys could be in a closet your whole time doing the show, and no one would ever know. You know, there's no life beyond that.
I am.
We are.
You know, that's the great illusion, the beautiful illusion about the internet. We can all hide what we're really doing.
That's the truth. That's the truth. Absolutely. Well, Alan, I want to thank you for the hours of enjoyment you provided me in my teens. You were like a friend, man. You didn't know who I was. But just sitting back on the couch. I told Nick earlier I was a vidiot. You know, I'd open the Coca-Cola and eat chips and listen to you'd give the music news and toss to my favorite video.
Man.
And I lived in a rural area, man, so it was important to me. I didn't have a lot of friends around the area. So very cool.
Cable in general started in the rural areas before, you know, the big cities, and certainly in TV got its start beyond the meccas of the 5-6 major cities. We weren't on in Manhattan and L.A. and San Francisco the first year. So, I mean, people like you had not much else to do, and they didn't know who the Stray Cats or Duran Duran were, and there they were checking out Madonna fashions. I mean, it was a crazy paradigm-shifting thing that I think it'll be hard to repeat that again.
I still remember commercials with you, Alan, where you were teaching people how to set up stereo on your TV. It's funny stuff.
Yeah, you know, those things were like you'd get a call from a producer after you get off your shift, your regular shift, and you just wanted to go and have a drink with a buddy or something. The producer would say, hey, man, we're going to do this commercial, you know, and we want you to be the star of it. It's a promo for MTV. It's like, oh, damn, no, man, I'm going out, you know. We used to gripe about exposure and extra work that we had to do. It was the same thing I did with Madonna. You know, I bitched and moaned about having to go interview this girl named Madonna. That night, I was going to go out and party, and then I had to go work. Really?
You were married at this time, too, right?
I was, happily so. I had a great marriage and loved her dearly, and we had a great time in the 80s. It was just, in a way, that was kind of my anchor. All that craziness going around. And I had a place and someone to come back home to. It really, and someone who kind of was my partner, throughout. I didn't have to think about who my date was going to be. I will say certainly there were times when I used to have breakfast at the same place every morning, mid-Manhattan, after my show. And Diane Lane would eat there quite often. And we would talk, and she watched MTV, and I watched her movies. And I think it was me just having the fantasy, not her. That's like, what would it be like if I weren't married,
Oh,
I think
boy, Diane Lane.
Yeah. Oh, my God, Diane Lane. And I had the same thing for, Winona Ryder, who was nuts as she could be back then. When did Beetlejuice come out? Late 80s? But,
yeah.
So I had some fantasies about what it would be like to be single back in the day, but again, it was I think a better way for me to have gone. I'd have gone crazy.
And there was no romance going on at all between you and Nina or Martha at all, right?
Sadly, in the book, I think Martha alludes to having a little crush, and I felt that early on. We were playing. That's when I was playing a role. I didn't wear my ring for a while, and my wife said, "Why not?" I said, "I'm not sure." Thought I was playing the VJ role, and plus the producers were pressuring me to be single. That was kind of weird.
You had to be available. Yes.
Yeah, they had this kind of old school TV notion that fans wouldn't dig it, but that was nonsense. And Martha and I had a little flirtation on the air that was kind of cute, and they fostered that. And then my wife was not happy. I think that story's in the book. Martha had a little something.
You might think this is a crazy comparison, Alan, and I don't want to keep you too long here. I always likened you to almost like a John Ritter character, believe it or not, because of the physical comedy.
Well, John, I love John Ritter. I loved him, and his son Zach is an accomplished actor and director as well. We showed a couple of his independent films at my film festival that I started down south. But I don't know. That's flattering to me to be compared to him because I think he had great comedy, a great comic style, and also seemed to be a decent fellow,
Yeah, very much.
And I'll go with that. I mean, my main thing about my time on MTV and since then is that I feel good about the people that were my fans and are to this day. I mean, I like them. I think if you're in a business or a band, let's say you're a professional wrestler and you've got some sense about you, but you're making a living being a professional wrestler. But maybe you hate the people that dig what you do, There's beer-drinking idiot slobs, and so that would foster your own sense of self-loathing. I always liked the people that dug what I did and the ones that got some subtle humor and maybe my sense of irony and sarcasm. My whole thing was just not taking myself too seriously,
Yeah.
And not taking the whole thing too seriously, because that appealed to me more. So humility was my shtick.
Very refreshing, Alan, and very refreshing that you would come on here and spend this much time with us, man. It was more than I expected.
Oh man, I dig doing things like this because it's kind of like, hey, you ask, you get,
Yeah.
I get people asking me, and sometimes I say no thanks, and they're maybe even have some profile to them. But I think people that are doing what you do are sort of, that's cool. So keep it up.
Yeah, we're trying, man. We love the pop culture, and there's definitely a market for nostalgia.
Yeah.
And we've been pleased
figure
by
out a way to package it up and sell it, right?
That's what we're working on, man. I was in TV for 20 years myself, and it got rid of me. So I'm trying to reinvent the wheel here.
Well, you got to take control of your own life these days. That's no doubt. That's what I did when I moved away from L.A.
Amen, my friend.
Keep it
Amen.
up. Keep it
Thanks,
up. There's
buddy.
always another phase. We're all living longer, damn it.
New chapters. Thanks,
Alan. Good.
Thanks, Alan.
Thanks for asking. Appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for coming by.
Later, guys.
Later. That's Alan Hunter, one of MTV's original VJs. The book is Unplugged, Adventures of MTV's First Wave. It had Alan Hunter, Mark Goodman, Nina Blackwood, Martha Quinn, written by Gavin Edwards from Rolling Stone magazine. Huge thrill for me tonight, Nick, to talk to that man. I can't tell you.
Me too, to listen. And let me ask you, why did he make that comment about Goodman wanting to prove that he's not a bad guy or whatever? Was there...
Because I think Mark was the one that, and I actually called Alan Mark in the interview at one time. I felt terrible about that. I just had all the VJs on the mind. I think Mark, who also had the background in radio along with J.J. Jackson, these guys were radio veterans, right? These guys had huge egos. Not necessarily J.J., I'm talking Mark Goodman, had the huge ego. And I think Mark was known for that, kind of being an asshole. And so I think
within their group?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I think of all of them, he was known for having the huge ego, and I liked Mark Goodman on the air. He never came across that way to me at all on the air when I watched MTV.
I remember him so much. I mean, I remember Alan Hunter.
Mark was the guy with kind of the fro. Remember?
Yeah, I know who he is. I mean, but I don't remember how long was he on for.
I think 6-7 years. He was one of the originals. Here's a true story, Nick.
J.J. Jackson.
I love J.J. Jackson, man. That voice of his, great pipes. He passed away a few years back, so he's not in the book. Martha Quinn, I think every teenage boy had a crush on her at some point in time. Just this cute little pixie on the air. And then Nina Blackwood, who was kind of the sultry late night. VJ. Now, this is a true story, Nick. When I was doing Fox 31 TV in Denver as a sportscaster, there was an 80s station that hired me to do sports on the radio that Nina Blackwood worked at. I get hired to do sports, right? The very week.
She takes the job with MTV.
No. The very week that I'm to do sports at this new wave station, it goes Spanish. True story. This was like in 2000.
Did you know that? Did they know that you didn't speak Spanish?
I think they did. We were all kind of shown the door, but that's a true story. I was so excited about being part of this, 1980s radio station tirade with the sports, and I never ever got on the air. I was so excited about the possibilities too, but never happened. I wanted to be, Nick. Seriously, I wanted to be Alan Hunter. I did when I would sit on my couch. I even had the MTV muscle shirts. Remember those?
And I clearly remember being jealous of him during the spring break shows. Here's a woman I'm dying to get on the show. Now, Michelle's not here tonight, so I can say this. I would die if we could get Samantha Fox. Oh, I remember Samantha Fox. And she's still alive. She's still kicking. Yeah. She looks great. I got to get her on Beats and Eats, man. That would be cool, man. She was good. I remember she was nice. She was hot, and she was fun. Very good. Sexy, very curvy. I'll keep it PG-13. And she was very on the edge. Yeah. Samantha Fox. So you're right. I would have loved to talk to Alan about spring break. We didn't get in depth. There's some things in the book, Nick. You've got to read this book. I think I'm going to find it very interesting. It's called The Unplugged Adventures of MTV's First Wave. And I do hope that they make a movie out of it. I think. I was going to say I would watch it. I would watch a movie. There's a lot of good stuff in there. I'm trying to think of who the VJs were, Nick, when you got a little older. Kurt Loder. Tabitha Soren. Who? Tabitha Soren. Tabitha Soren. Yep. And I could see him. Ugly-looking guy. Skinny. I could see him like it was yesterday. I can't remember his name. He was kind of annoying. But he was in that second wave, let's say. And Alan Hunter. I remember Alan Hunter like it was yesterday. And he sounded a lot like Danny Ainge. He did. I didn't think of that at the time, but now that you say that, I can hear it. I definitely can hear it. You have to bring it back to the Celtics. I know, but you know what? It's better than bringing it back to Shatner. We went the first hour without mentioning William Shatner's name tonight, and you go and ruin it. It's funny. I have to bring it up every show. Because in the show posting, I said, tonight we're starting the William Shatner drinking game.
every time Nick Gelso mentions William Shatner, you've got to take a shot in the virtual lens.
I don't understand why he just won't come on this show.
We're going to keep working it, man.